Um, yeah, I know, state of the art. None of this high-tech stuff here, just a general plot. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to start with this quote. What I said to myself. Your experiences are determined by the language you use both to yourself and to other people. So choose your words carefully. Now that might be something worth taking down, cogitating on over the next few weeks. It's really important. We'll come back to that as I'm going through. So, I don't actually have much time, 10 to 15 minutes. It'll be erring on the 15 to slightly more possibly, but I can talk from my country. I apologise in advance. Okay, so I haven't really got much time to expound on the magnitude of this topic, the power of language. So I'm going to confine myself within the framework of a signature video, because that's kind of what I do. My aim is to give you in the next 10-15 minutes, where are we? Can somebody work out the maths for me? I've got 11:38 on my clock. What's 15 on from that? 50, 52, 53? 53, thank you. I'm not blessed with a mathematical brain, but I'm working on it. Okay, so in this next 10 to 15 minutes, my aim is to give you $10,000 worth of value. Does that seem worthy of your time and attention?
Yes.
Right, clock's ticking, let's get on with it. Okay, how much potential business do you think you may have lost? Or how many projects have you passed up because of the language you were using with yourself or in your marketing? Let me ask you this. Have you heard the phrase, I'm just a, tripping off your tongue? I'm particularly seeing this in social situations where I've been talking with potentially a group of women and the subject of occupation has come up and you've had some say, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mum. What value is going on that role when you have that description? I usually, well, no, I always do, challenge them and go, whoa, 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 stop, hang on a minute. Let's explore your role. You are actually shaping and nurturing the next generation. You literally have the future in your hands. Can we revisit the description you're using of yourself? And I get them to contemplate describing themselves as Director of Home Affairs or Director of Education. And suddenly they start going, yeah, that feels better. And can you see, even just by changing the language that you're using to describe that one occupation, it suddenly takes on greater significance, takes on greater depth. I have actually heard, I'm just a, within this very room. Oh, I did challenge that one. Can you imagine the impact that's going to have on your business? If you describe yourself to somebody as, I'm just a ... I'm not going to give indication of who it was, it's not nobody here present. So be careful about the words you use to describe what you do. What's the internal language that you're using, and then what you're coming out with in terms of your copy, your conversation with people. So your job then within your marketing is to build your KLT factor faster than your competitors. Are you all familiar with the KLT factor?
No.
No! Oh, it's your knowability, your likability, and your trustability. Okay? You need to build that faster than your competitors. How are you going to do that?
Education.
By building a relationship with them. And how do you build that relationship with them? You talk their language. You've identified, and I'm sure you all have, you've identified who your avatar is, your ideal client. You know who they are, you've given them a name, you know if they're married, they've got children, what sort of car they drive, where they hang out. That's going to be important in terms of your marketing literature. Where are you going to aim it? And hey, you know how they're going to vote tomorrow. You've done that much work on identifying your avatar. So you know the language to use directly with them. Your avatar's then going to go, they really get me, because they understand that you are speaking to them. When they feel that deep emotional connection with you, they're going to go, do you know what, I've got to tell everybody about this person, this product, this service. And they're going to pass your information on to other people. That's one of the keys to making your message go viral. That wasn't actually one of the keys that I was going to give you. There you go, bonus tip. So this deep emotional connection you're building with people is done strategically through the use of your language. You get this right, and you literally are manipulating brain chemistry. I'll tell you a bit more about that later. Okay. So, video is the way forward in your marketing. Back in '99, you were talking about references. Back in '99, Buckingham and Kaufman had a very influential book that then was stating that over 90% of people don't get beyond page 18 of the book. Now, the budding authors out there, that really isn't a good thing. So I'm sure Ross is going to give us clues as to how to make sure that you grab people's attention and keep it well beyond page 18. Now, that was 20 years ago. We're now very definitely in a screen age, I would suggest. How many of you have been to a restaurant and witnessed the engagement with the screen rather than each other before the food arrives?
Yeah.
Or been on a train or a bus? Everybody's sitting looking at a screen. There are the occasional old school looking at a book, which is great to see. And hey, even looking at somebody, that would be scary. So we're in a video age. We're in an age where traditionally we had 7 seconds to make an impact. It's now gone down to 4. You have 4 seconds when you're interacting with somebody to get your impression across, to make that good impression. And that's where you have to hook them in, to hold them long enough to get more of the, as you were saying, Wayne, education going. So that's where your signature video comes in. Close your eyes for a minute, guys. Come with me. Long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Where are you? Come back, where were you in that minute? You were in a movie theatre, weren't you? Yeah? Watching that disappearing into the background. Yeah. Would you have gone to see that original movie if it hadn't been for the hype and the publicity around it to start with? I suggest not. Would George Lucas be sitting on that massive fortune if that original trailer had bombed? Or even been mediocre? That's the importance of a trailer getting you into a movie theatre. That's the importance of your signature video, bringing people to see your product, your service, your brand, you. Okay? That's why it's so important. Okay. Here we go. This is the first tip. I'm not using green. That business, if you haven't already brought paper with you, may I suggest that, sorry Caleb, can you use the back of your reference grid? Because you're going to be wanting to draw a circle. Now in this circle, you're writing down the question, why? Somewhere around it, I want you to write these 3 questions. Why is growing your business important to you? Okay, write that question down. These are things you're going to be thinking about over the next few days. Why is growing a successful business important to you? Second question is, why is this so important? It's not the same question, they're subtly different. And the third question you're going to ask yourself is, who stands to gain by me growing a successful business? You might not do it for yourself, but you might do it for somebody else, drawing you forward when things are going tough. Okay. So that's your why, and that's fundamental. Your next circle what? What are you actually going to say? This is where the language comes in. You've identified your avatar, you know how to speak to them. And because you know how to speak to them, you have described their pain points so beautifully, even more than they had realised. And they go, oh, I can't do this anymore, it has got to stop now. Brain dump of norepinephrine neurotransmitter. That's the one associated with your fright, flight, and freeze response. Okay? Now, with your emotionally rich language, you're taking them on a journey, storytelling, to the resolution of their problem through your solution. At that point, this is going to be brilliant. Dopamine dump. I did tell you we're into brain chemistry here.
Yeah.
That's the power of language. I think you're beginning to get the idea of this. So that's the what you're going to say, and under that you're also going to make sure that you've hooked your visual thinkers, your auditory thinkers, your kinesthetic thinkers. So anybody who's done NLP, this will be ringing bells. If you haven't, I'm happy to talk a bit further about that later. Then you're also going to be aware of the how. Last time I spoke, I gave you the statistics between the what, the words, the visuals, and the tone. If you weren't around for the last one and you want to find out a bit more about that, come to me. What you're saying will be constrained by how you're saying it. So if you're talking about confidence, and what you're doing is going to give people real confidence, are they going to take any notice of you? You need to be really aware and passionate about what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not going to get people excited. So your body language, your tone has to match. On the back of JR's comment about storytelling and Ross's storytelling, that was one of the feedback things I got from my last speech, was that I didn't give you stories. Right, here's a story. I'm working with a lady at the moment who, she is pretty high up in the corporation, and she's the only lady at her level. Now she's 5 foot nothing, so she's quite wee, and she has been systematically patronised by her colleagues, both peers and superiors. We've been working on her communication skills now for 5 months. In that time, she is now standing taller. Her boss and her boss's boss have noticed the difference in her communication skills, so much so that her boss is about to retire, and he has her on an accession program. He has chosen her because of the difference he's seen in her. And that just feels fabulous to see her blossoming. Story? Tick.
Nice one.
Okay. So you can see then that this is where we're going. That's the what, and we'll also put in there, in brackets, the how. Then, where? Where are you delivering your message? I work with clients to look at their message in terms of what's their backstory. How do we pull the elements of their backstory into what they're saying? Because that's your unique selling point. You've got the passion behind it. Tom, you were saying that your story is so important to you that that's why you're doing what you're doing. And I suspect a number of us around the table, we're pulling on past experience to pull us forward into what we're doing as part of our job. So where? Are we looking at a 30-second elevator pitch? Are we looking at a 2-minute introductory signature video per se? Are we looking at a 10-minute presentation a bit similar to this? Are we looking at a 30-minute keynote? I work with my clients to get the message in those different segments. Okay, so that's your tip number 1. Sorry, I'm European. Tip number 2, identify your top 3 competitors. Sorry, I'm going to be running over slightly. Identify your top 3 competitors. What is it that you are, how are you unique? How do you stand apart from them? I'm not talking about standing head and shoulders above, because then we're getting into the realms of tall poppy syndrome. which I as an incomer can make a comment on because I'm not Australian. But I'm witnessing it, and I see it as almost a cultural thing. If you're standing head and shoulders above, people will either go, knock you down, or you yourself may think, what have I got to offer? Why am I putting myself out there? Now can I take you back to the original point? If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get any further. So don't get stuck in that particular trap. Another way of describing that is the success tax. Be prepared to pay it. You may lose a few friends on the way, but the success tax is actually worth it. So your three top competitors, your idea is, your task is then to get them to think expansively about how working with you will change their lives. And that's where your language comes in, okay? So growth is not going to happen without the loss of the status quo, so you have to do things differently. Number 3, be disruptive in your industry. How can you be different? How can you stand apart? About shoulders above, standing apart, because you then want the idea that other people are going to benchmark your competitors against you, not the other way around. What is your unique position? How are you going to stand apart in the noisy marketplace? I mean, you've got to make yourself heard, otherwise you're going to sink without a trace. So consider, what would your competitors not think of doing? What won't they do? Can't they do? Or wouldn't even think of doing? And if you can come up with that, bingo. Now, what does this conjure up in your mind? What words, what feelings, what emotions come up when you see that?
Give it to me.
Did I lend you that?
Yeah, no.
I've never seen one of that.
Need to add a few more zeros next to it. Add a few more zeros.
It would be lovely, wouldn't it? Yes, and it will be. It will be. The point with this is there's a sense of credibility and trust. Yeah? And yes, I did get it from the bank. They did assure me that there are some forgeries going around, but this is the genuine thing. Okay. So my point is showing you that you've got to build the credibility of your company, of your brand, of your service or your product, of you. And that's where your trailer, your signature video comes in. So I have merely scratched the surface of the power of language. I think you can see how important it is grasping this and getting your communication skills up to scratch. Now, I've got an opening for 4, maybe 5 people as a result of today's presentation. If you want to know more, and together we can create a trailer that George Lucas would be proud of, come and talk to me afterwards and we'll see whether we're a match to work together. By the way, can I also mention that this gentleman here has done some fabulous work on his introductory video, his signature video, because we've worked together.
Yeah, Wendy's amazing, so get in there. I totally recommend it. Yeah,
That's me. It's 2 minutes over.